Love rarely begins with words. The deepest emotions often appear long before a confession is ever spoken. Many people believe that if a man truly loves someone, he will immediately say it. Yet human psychology reveals something very different. The strongest feelings are often hidden behind silence, hesitation, and subtle behaviors that most people completely overlook. A man who is deeply in love may never say those 3 words, not because he feels nothing, but because what he feels is too meaningful to express carelessly. Today you'll discover the hidden psychological signs that reveal genuine love without a single spoken confession. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why silence sometimes speaks louder than any declaration of love. A man who is deeply in love often begins expressing his feelings long before he has the courage or even the awareness to put them into words. His heart quietly changes the way he responds to your emotional world. Rather than trying to impress you with grand gestures, he starts paying close attention to the things that affect your inner peace. This shift is subtle, almost invisible to anyone who is only looking for obvious signs of romance. Yet it is one of the strongest indicators of genuine affection. Love naturally awakens a protective instinct that is not rooted in control but in care. He becomes increasingly aware of how his actions, his tone, and even his absence might influence your emotional state. You may notice that he begins choosing his words more carefully whenever he speaks with you. This is not because he is pretending to be someone else, but because your feelings have started to matter to him in a way they never did before. He hesitates before saying something that could hurt you, and if he accidentally causes disappointment, he often feels uncomfortable until he knows things are all right again. This emotional sensitivity does not come from obligation. It emerges naturally because your happiness has quietly become connected to his own emotional balance. Another powerful sign appears in the way he notices changes that others overlook. He senses when your smile is forced, when your energy is lower than usual, or when something is weighing heavily on your mind, even if you insist that everything is fine. While others may only hear your words, he begins listening to the emotions hidden beneath them. His attention shifts from what you say to what you truly feel. This level of awareness is rarely accidental. When the heart becomes emotionally invested, the mind unconsciously searches for signals that reveal whether the person it values is at peace or in pain. His protection also appears through quiet reliability rather than dramatic heroism. He may check whether you arrived home safely, remember an important event that made you anxious, or offer support before you even ask for it. These actions seem ordinary when viewed separately, yet together they reveal a consistent pattern. He is not trying to earn praise. He simply feels an internal responsibility to make your life a little easier whenever he can. Love often transforms responsibility into something voluntary, making kindness feel effortless rather than forced. Perhaps the deepest expression of this silent protection is the emotional space he creates around you. Instead of making you feel judged, pressured, or anxious, his presence gradually becomes a place where you can relax and be yourself. You find that conversations with him leave you feeling calmer instead of exhausted. He does not constantly seek to fix every problem or prove his importance. Sometimes he simply listens with genuine attention, understanding that being emotionally available is often more valuable than having the perfect advice. In this quiet way, without making dramatic declarations or seeking recognition, he reveals a love that speaks through consistent care, gentle awareness, and the sincere desire to protect not only your heart, but also your peace. Long before a man openly admits that he is in love, something begins to change in the direction of his attention. The mind naturally moves toward whatever the heart considers meaningful, often without conscious intention. This is why one of the quietest yet most reliable signs of growing affection is not found in what he says, but in what he consistently notices. While many people assume love is revealed through dramatic gestures or passionate words, true emotional attachment often begins with a subtle sharpening of awareness. Suddenly, details that once seemed insignificant become impossible for him to ignore because they are connected to someone who now occupies an important place in his inner world. You may find that he remembers things you mentioned only once, even when you have forgotten saying them yourself. Perhaps you casually spoke about your favorite childhood memory, your preferred coffee order, or an event that made you nervous. Weeks later, he recalls these details with surprising accuracy. This is not simply a sign of having a good memory. It reflects emotional investment. The human mind naturally stores information that carries emotional significance. And when someone begins to matter deeply, even ordinary conversations become meaningful enough to remember. His attention also extends to the smallest changes in your behavior. He notices when your laughter sounds different, when your enthusiasm fades, or when your usual confidence seems replaced by quiet uncertainty. Others may see the same smile and assume everything is fine, but he senses that something beneath the surface has shifted. This sensitivity does not require extraordinary perception. It develops because he has become emotionally tuned to your patterns. The more important someone becomes, the more easily the mind detects even slight changes in their emotional rhythm. As his feelings deepen, your presence begins influencing the way he organizes his daily life. He may adjust his schedule to spend more time with you without making a grand announcement about He responds to your messages with genuine interest, not because he feels obligated, but because hearing from you has become one of the moments he quietly looks forward to. Even during a busy day, his thoughts naturally return to you. He wonders how your meeting went, whether you reached home safely, or if the challenge you mentioned earlier has been resolved. These thoughts arise spontaneously because emotional attachment gently reshapes where our attention flows. Perhaps the most revealing change is that he becomes fully present when you are together. In a world filled with constant distractions, genuine attention has become increasingly rare. Yet when a man is deeply in love, he is less interested in proving himself and more interested in understanding you. He listens without rushing to interrupt. He notices your expressions, your pauses, and the emotions behind your words. He makes you feel seen rather than simply heard. This quiet presence communicates something powerful that spoken affection cannot always express. Without realizing it, he gives you one of the greatest gifts a person can offer another, the undivided focus of a heart that has quietly chosen where it belongs. In the beginning of attraction, emotions often arrive like a storm. There is excitement, anticipation, and an overwhelming desire to be close to someone. But emotions alone are unpredictable. They rise quickly, fade unexpectedly, and often depend on circumstances. Genuine love, however, follows a different path. As a man's feelings deepen, his behavior begins to reflect something far more stable than emotional excitement. Instead of being driven by fleeting passion, he becomes guided by quiet consistency. This transformation is one of the clearest signs that what he feels is no longer temporary attraction, but a lasting emotional bond. A man who truly loves you does not appear only when life is easy or when everything feels exciting. He remains present, even during ordinary days, difficult conversations, and moments when there is nothing to gain. His presence is no longer based on convenience, but on commitment. While others may disappear when challenges arise, he continues showing up because his connection is rooted in something deeper than changing emotions. This steady reliability creates a sense of security that words alone could never provide. One of the strongest expressions of this consistency is that his actions begin matching his past intentions. If he says he will call, he calls. If he promises to help, he follows through. If he makes plans with you, he values them instead of treating them as optional. These may seem like simple behaviors, yet they reveal an important psychological truth. Love gradually reduces the gap between what a person says and what they actually do. When someone truly values another person, keeping promises becomes a natural reflection of respect rather than an obligation. Consistency also appears in the way he responds during moments of disagreement. Every meaningful relationship experiences misunderstandings, but genuine love does not disappear the moment conflict appears. Instead of walking away after every difficult conversation, or becoming emotionally distant, whenever problems arise, he seeks understanding. He may need time to process his thoughts, but his intention remains the same. He wants to protect the connection rather than escape from it. His focus shifts from winning arguments to preserving trust, because the relationship itself has become more valuable than proving himself right. Another quiet sign is that his care does not depend on his mood. Some people are affectionate only when they feel happy or when circumstances favor them. But a man who is deeply in love learns to care consistently, even when he is tired, stressed, or facing personal struggles. This does not mean he becomes emotionally perfect. He still experiences frustration and uncertainty. The difference is that these emotions no longer determine whether he values you. His commitment remains steady, even while his feelings fluctuate, revealing that his love has matured beyond temporary emotion. Over time, this consistency creates something more powerful than dramatic romance. It builds trust. You begin to feel that you can rely on him because his actions are no longer unpredictable. His care becomes a quiet rhythm rather than a rare event. Without making grand speeches or constant declarations, he communicates the depth of his feelings through dependable actions, unwavering presence, and the simple but profound choice to remain someone you can count on, day after day. As love quietly matures within a man, one of the most profound changes takes place, where no one else can see it, inside his vision of the future. Before genuine emotional attachment develops, most people naturally think in terms of individual goals, personal ambitions, and independent decisions. Their plans revolve around their own path. But when someone begins to hold a meaningful place in the heart, that inner landscape slowly transforms. Without consciously deciding to do so, he begins imagining tomorrow with you already present in it. This shift is rarely announced with dramatic promises. Instead, it reveals itself through the quiet way he starts including you in the life he is building. At first, the change may seem almost invisible. He begins speaking differently about future events. Instead of saying, "I might travel there one day," he casually wonders whether you would enjoy visiting that place. Instead of making plans entirely on his own, he starts asking for your thoughts, your preferences, and your opinions. These conversations may appear ordinary, but they reveal a deeper psychological movement. Your perspective has become valuable to him because he no longer sees his future as something that belongs only to himself. Whether he realizes it or not, your presence has begun shaping his decisions. This transformation also appears in the way he prepares for opportunities and challenges. If he considers changing careers, moving to another city, or making an important life decision, he naturally thinks about how those choices might affect you. He does not see your existence as an obstacle to his freedom. Instead, your well-being becomes one of the factors his mind instinctively considers. This is not about sacrificing his identity or abandoning his personal dreams. Rather, it reflects the psychological truth that authentic love expands a person's sense of responsibility beyond the boundaries of the self. Another meaningful sign is that he begins inviting you into parts of his life that once felt deeply personal. He introduces you to places that hold special memories, shares dreams he rarely discusses with others, or allows you to see ambitions he usually keeps hidden. These moments are not simply acts of openness. They represent trust. When someone truly matters, the walls protecting the private inner world gradually begin to lower. He wants you to understand not only who he is today, but also who he hopes to become in the years ahead. You may also notice that his language subtly changes over time. Without realizing it, words like "I" and "me" begin giving way to "we" and "us." This is not a rehearsed expression of romance, but an unconscious reflection of emotional pay. The mind naturally adjusts its language to match its deepest beliefs. And when love becomes genuine, partnership quietly replaces isolation. Even simple conversations about holidays, future routines, or personal goals begin carrying the assumption that you are part of the picture. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of this silent transformation is that it is not driven by obligation or pressure. He does not include you in his future because he feels forced to do so, or because someone expects it of him. He does it because his heart has already accepted a truth that his words may still be catching up. 2. Long before a formal commitment is spoken, His decisions begin revealing what his emotions have already embraced. In this quiet and deeply human way, the future ceases to be a solitary journey and becomes a shared path, one where your presence is no longer imagined as temporary, but as an essential part of the life he hopes to create. One of the most misunderstood signs of deep love is silence. Many people assume that if a man becomes quiet, he has lost interest or is emotionally distant. While silence can sometimes reflect withdrawal, there is another kind of silence that carries an entirely different meaning. When a man feels truly safe with someone he loves, he no longer feels the constant need to fill every moment with words. His silence is not empty. It is peaceful, comfortable, and deeply connected. It reveals a level of emotional trust that often speaks more clearly than endless conversations ever could. In the early stages of attraction, people often try to impress one another. They carefully choose their words, tell entertaining stories, and search for the perfect responses. There is a natural desire to appear interesting, confident, and worthy of admiration. This effort is understandable because uncertainty still exists. Each person is trying to discover how they are being perceived. But as genuine love develops, this pressure slowly begins to disappear. A man who feels emotionally accepted no longer believes he must constantly perform to earn your affection. He becomes more authentic because he trusts that your connection is no longer dependent on flawless conversation. This change can be noticed in simple moments. You may sit together without speaking for several minutes, yet the silence does not feel awkward. Instead, it feels calm and reassuring. There is no urgency to prove anything or to entertain each other every second. Your presence alone becomes enough. This quiet comfort reflects emotional security because the relationship is no longer sustained by constant stimulation, but by mutual understanding. When two people reach this point, they begin communicating through expressions, small gestures, and shared moments that require no explanation. His silence also reveals itself through attentive listening. Rather than waiting impatiently for his turn to speak, he becomes genuinely interested in understanding your thoughts. He allows you to finish your sentences without interruption, and pays attention not only to your words, but also to your emotions. Sometimes he responds with only a few thoughtful sentences because he has spent more time listening than preparing an answer. In a world where many conversations are driven by the desire to be heard, this kind of quiet attention becomes a rare and meaningful expression of love. There are also moments when he may simply enjoy being near you while doing ordinary things. Reading a book, watching the sunset, driving together, or sharing a peaceful evening no longer requires constant conversation to feel meaningful. These ordinary experiences become valuable because your presence itself has become a source of comfort. He discovers that emotional closeness is not measured by the number of words exchanged, but by the quality of the connection that exists between them. Perhaps the deepest truth is that love gradually removes the fear of being completely seen. Silence becomes possible because he no longer worries that every pause will be misunderstood, or that every quiet moment must be filled to prevent distance. He feels free to simply exist beside you, without pretending to be stronger, wiser, or more interesting than he truly is. In that quiet acceptance, a profound form of intimacy begins to grow. Without dramatic confessions or elaborate speeches, his peaceful presence communicates trust, emotional safety, and a love that has moved beyond the need for constant reassurance. Sometimes the strongest declaration of love is not found in the words a man speaks, but in the silence he is no longer afraid to share with the person who has become his emotional home. Love is rarely hidden in perfect speeches or dramatic confessions. More often, it lives in quiet consistency, gentle protection, unwavering attention, shared dreams, and peaceful silence. When you learn to understand these silent expressions, you begin to recognize a love that words alone could never fully describe. Thank you for watching. If this insight helped you see love from a deeper psychological perspective, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this journey with someone who may need it. Until next time, keep exploring the hidden truths of the human mind.